Well, hey everyone, thank you so much for being with us. I know we took a few weeks off for the summer, and we are so glad to be back and have some great episodes coming up for you. I want you to make sure that you subscribe so that you'll get the weekly notifications. We do have some really great product coming out for you, and we want to make sure that you get access to that. So please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so, and that way you'll get all the new releases when they're released. So thank you so much for being here. We miss being here with you guys, and keep moving forward, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond Divorce Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Well, we're here again. Ariana, I'm excited you're here with us on this, and I think this topic is amazing. And loyalty conflict. It's funny. I think this comes up with either a parent will bring that up and say, I feel like the kid, but we always hear the kid in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the idea that they're having to pick.
Yeah.
So they're either caught in the middle of the conflict or they're having to pick between one parent or another. So I think it could have multiple meanings when someone says kid in the middle. So this idea of a loyalty conflict, and you have a really cool title. Why don't you go over that on this?
Yeah. So the loyalty test, kids never asked to take. And really, I'm sure you see it too with your clients. And especially this last week or so, I've had a lot of kiddos that are just kind of letting me know, I love my mom and my dad. I love both of my parents. But I get the sense that, in them even bringing that to me or having that coming up for them automatically lets me know that there is something going on in which they feel like they have to pick sides or be pulled one way or the other.
Yeah. How else does that show up when you're interviewing them? So that's one way. Is there other ways that have come up?
Yeah, you can kind of get a sense, depending on what kiddos are saying. They might be talking extra positive about one parent or extra negative about another parent. And it's almost I don't want to say performative, because I don't know that it's that sense of needing to protect, right? We've talked about this before on the podcast. Parents, protect their children and they want to take care of their children, but children also want to take care of their parents and want to make sure that they're okay and that they're emotionally fine. And so sometimes kiddos even adopt this mentality, even if parents aren't explicitly trying to get them to pick them.
And I think this is the whole point of parentification, right? Like when the kid takes on a parental role, it's not designed because it's really designed to make conflict. It's actually designed because the child needs the parent to be okay. And so they take on a parental role and they become the protector or the guardian of the parent. And we all look at it and how dare that parent, but in reality, that parent's going through something they need to work on themselves. Mm-hmm. The greatest thing is if I were to ever say to a parent, hey, be careful not to parentify your kid, what I'm really saying to that parent is you need to really work on yourself so the child doesn't feel this conflict within themselves that I got to take care of you, which could look like a loyalty conflict if I'm the other parent. Yes? So let's talk about the unspoken sides of it. You said, I think right here I read, loyalty conflicts are often unspoken. What does that mean?
Yes. So, we talked about things not really being so direct, right? Like one parent might not be saying, who do you love more? Or choose me? Or is it my house better? Sometimes they do. And if you're doing that, please stop, because it's not okay. But if you're not, it might also look like sighing when the kid mentions the other parent, or maybe there's an eye roll, and maybe you don't even catch yourself doing it, but your child does, because they can see and they can pick up on that body language. Maybe you're asking them a lot of questions after they visited that other parent's house, which I don't know about you, but any anybody asking me lots of questions gets kind of overwhelming and might send the message of, oh, well, are you trying to investigate? Are you trying to see what's happening? Why are you trying to see what's happening in that house? Should I also be concerned?
Right.
Should I worry about when I go over there if you're going to come back and ask me all these questions? So really, it's, that's where we're like, it's unspoken, right? It's not direct. It's just by these subtle behaviors, or maybe it's making jokes or comments or being sarcastic when the child shares something. Really, that's all these cues that they're picking up on to know, ooh, it's not okay to talk about the other parent when I'm here.
Right. And how young have you worked? Like, what's the youngest age you've had in a session with a kid?
Well, I see 5 and up, and I even see this with my 5-year-olds.
As if that's asking.
Yeah.
How far down is it going? So you go 5 and up, and you've seen it as young as 5.
Mm-hmm.
You think there's some potential for even younger, possibly? You think a 4-year-old might be able to pick up on something like that?
I think so. I
Wow.
think so. And I think that's kind of the worrisome thing. The scary thing here is that if kiddos are this young and they're reading your body language, they're picking up on those subtle sighs and eye rolls, then they're already starting off at a very young age understanding that there is some kind of tension between their parents.
Mm-hmm. What would you encourage a parent? Let's say you have a 5-year-old come in and you're interacting with the kid, and you get the sense this child is literally caught in a loyalty conflict, and you've assessed that. What would you maybe advise the parents or a parent in that situation? What might they hear you say?
Yeah, like I get the sense that children are in the middle, and often, and honestly, I will say, to parents' credit, I do get a lot of parents like, oh my goodness, yes, like they're exactly in the middle. I don't know what to do.
Meaning like they come in and they're kind of going, I already know this is going on, or or when you start to tell them, they align with you and go, oh yeah, I see that.
More of alignment, right?
Yeah,
so
they hear you say it.
Then your child, it sounds like they love both of y'all, but I get the sense they're kind of in the middle, and then parents will agree and like, oh my gosh, yes, they are in the middle. Like, I don't know how to help them. I don't know what to do. Sometimes it's just being quiet. Like, if you were talking negative about your co-parent, don't do it. If you are rolling your eyes when kiddo is like, oh my gosh, I had such a fun time at the park with dad, and maybe you don't remember dad going to the park at all when y'all were married, let it be. Right.
And so now when you said that line where the parents don't know what to do you think the majority of families that are going through divorce really don't know what they're doing, or do you think they know exactly what they're doing? You think it leans one way or the other?
I would like to think that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think you and I have met some families that do know that they're doing it and causing psychological harm to their children. But I would like to believe that most parents don't, and they're just trying their best to navigate the situation that we were never taught how to.
And the ones that I've talked to that recognize their behavior, and they know that at some level it's not good, it seems to me that they still feel that the overarching mission is good. It's almost like, yeah, this may not be good, but when you think of it from this perspective, or when you look at it from here, it is good. It's almost like
rationalization.
Yeah, they rationalize it because Simon Sinek said it best. No person thinks they're on the side of evil. Even the villain thinks he's doing something right.
Yeah.
Even the movies, so it's almost like if we just realize that everyone's trying to get it right, they just have a really poor way of doing it. I love the parent who really doesn't know and says that. A parent that comes in and says, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know if I'm doing this right, or I'm worried I might be doing it wrong. There is no penalty in that for me. The penalty is when we look through it together and we see that there's problems there's different ways it can be approached, and you choose not to do anything about it or not change anything about it. That's when I'm like, okay, now that's problematic. There's what is preventing us from taking that next step? You have a great session with someone and they make a plan of how they want to do things different when they leave. And then they come back and see you and you say, what's better? And they're like, oh, nothing. I'm like, well, what'd you forget to do? Well, I know we talked about this. I just didn't do it. What would it take to get you to do it if you know it's going to help you? To me, I'm like, come on now. What's going on?
How do we get, what is holding you back?
Yeah. What's it going to take to get you to do it? So it's either what's holding you back or what things you need to put in place to ensure that you can fulfill. And that's the accountability. I think therapy, there has to be some accountability therapy. And there's got to be accountability to parents who have children in loyalty conflicts. You've got to be accountable. You've got to be willing, like you, Arrianna, I know you do this. you'll have to say to the parent, I'm really concerned about where your kid is in the middle of this conflict, and there's some unspoken things that are showing up as the way that I can tell that it's happening. And so we're going to have to do some things different here, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it becomes a pretty tough conversation. But I think if people are all on the side of good, you can have tough conversations because they should bring you closer together.
If you are all working to support your child, then
a tough conversation is going to help.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
If it's really truly about your child.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. You like that one? Okay. So tell us about number 2. You said children can love both parents. So tell me more about that one.
Yeah. One of the greatest gifts you can give to your child as a parent is giving them permission to love the other parent as well.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. How does that come across? How does a parent do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think, we talked about kiddos getting to share about what it looks like at that other house, even if it's, we got to go get dinner, we got to go to the park, we got to go to the museum, whatever it is, whatever your child is excited about, you could respond with, I'm glad you had fun. Sounds like, you and dad did this or you and dad did that. And, oh, I'm so happy for you, right? That sounds like you had a great weekend. Because for that child, you are now encouraging them, okay, I can talk to mom, I can talk to dad, I can talk to whomever about my other parent. And I don't need to edit my emotions or my feelings or my feedback because I'm allowed to love that other parent.
Yeah. If a parent were to say to a kid, you have my permission to love your dad, you have my permission to love your mom, I mean, how do you think a kid would respond to that? That's in a loyalty conflict.
Yeah, I think they would be skeptical. I think they would have to see it. And that's
even a 5-year-old?
I think that's really one of those pieces, right? If they are feeling like they're in this loyalty conflict, it's been after a series of behaviors, a series of conversation. This has been a trained pattern, if you will. And so once you become aware of your place in it as the parent and what you're doing to cause this pattern, it will take some retraining, some relearning for all of y'all, for the family, for your child to understand that, even when you come and talk about the other parent and they're excited and you're constantly, oh my gosh, you glad you had fun. Thank you for sharing. That sounds like a good time. It is going to take repetition of that for the child to become aware that they can share freely.
Consistently doing it so the kid does, because the first thing you're right, that everyone's skeptical. You're skeptical to come to court-ordered counseling. You're skeptical of your co-parent and what their agenda is. You're skeptical of whether or not they're alienating behind the scenes. Everyone is dealing with skepticism, thinking that's the thing that protects them because then they're not caught off guard, when in actuality it's the thing that's preventing them from moving forward. And what's funny is because that skepticism exists and people play this, I almost call it the therapeutic dance, or not the legal dance or the legal game that exists for them. And I hate to call it a game, but it's not, because it's people's lives. But there's so many words I could put in there about the way it feels, not the way it is, but the way it feels. And a 13-year-old comes to me years ago, and the best way she could describe her world to me was, my parents are in a tug of war and I'm the rope.
Yeah.
It's the exact way she said it. My parents are in a tug of war and I'm the rope. And I said, wow. So talk about in the middle, talk about a loyalty bind. Because we had, in that family, I think there was 3 or 4 kids. So one's with mom, one's with dad, the other one's going back and forth. Now, like, well, you can tell what this is. And
kudos to those children, because they happen sometimes in the families that are just like, you know what? I'm going to stay out of it, and nothing you can say to me is going to influence how I feel about the other parent.
It's almost like, if I could ever tell a parent, I would say, it almost should hurt you if they don't like the other parent. If your kid comes back to you and says, I hate my dad, that should not be a happy moment. If you smile when you hear that, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
I think you should be hurt by that. You don't want your kid to hate one of you. The reason the kid exists is because the two of you existed. And so to me, it's almost like, if you're not heartbroken when your kid comes to you and says, I hate dad or I hate mom, like, that to me is a sign that there's a problem. There's something going on with you, and you're probably influencing that in some way without recognizing that you're doing it, because you feel good about the fact that they're rejecting that. It should bother you that a child's rejecting a parent. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had parents go through some serious, significant matters in their marriage, and they stepped out of the marriage as a way to protect self, and probably even thinking it's the best or to protect their child. But if that child starts to reject that parent, and you got out of that situation, it still should bother you that still exists. Yeah. Now, this doesn't mean I'm telling that parent, you need to go tell him, oh, you got to go love your dad. You shouldn't act that way. That's not what I'm telling you. Attorneys might say that to you, or a judge could say that to you. What I would say to you is you say, I really don't like that you would have these feelings about either me or your father, or either me or your mother. Mm. And I want you to be able to have any semblance of a relationship with either one of us. And I want it to be good, healthy, and loving. Is there something I can do to help that happen for you? Because now I'm collaborating with my child to give them permission to love us both. Yes? Mm-hmm. I can't make somebody love somebody, can you? Yeah. But can I get permission for someone to love somebody?
Yeah, but I think it needs to come from the parent.
Tell them. Go ahead, tell them again, Arrianna. They probably need to hear it more than once.
I mean, I think for parents who are kind of listening and finding themselves in this situation, having experienced the relationship that you had with your ex, it's trying to remember that your relationship with your partner is completely different than your relationship with your child.
Ooh.
And the person that showed up in your marriage, in your union, and their interactions towards you can be very different than their interactions towards their child as a parent.
So you're saying they could be a horrible spouse, but a good parent?
Yes.
Both of those could simultaneously
We've had that conversation a lot this week.
Oh, sure. And I told a kid the other day, I said, who's the only person that gets to judge your dad as a dad? Who's the only person that gets to judge your mom as a mom? Do I get to do that?
No, it's the child. And I think to parents listening, that's your reminder to do the best that you can for them, because supporting that relationship that your child has with the other parent, it isn't a betrayal of yours. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say anything less about you and your position as a parent for your child. What it does is provide a space. You are investing emotionally in your child to allow them to show up, be authentic, be cared for by both parents.
I had a parent once tell their kid, hey, as we go through this, I just want to ask you a favor. And the kid was like, what? Those two kids in the room. Mm-hmm. Both kids were like, what? And the parent said, I want you to judge me on your experiences with me, but not the words you're told about me. And then I'll be good with that. So if you decide that I'm not doing a good job, or there's a problem in our relationship, but it's based on your experiences with me, then I absolutely want to talk through that with you.
Yeah.
But if you're judging me based on the things you were told about me, those could be wrong. And you're placing all your energy on something that may not exist, may not be true. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that would be fair to you or me in any relationship.
Yeah.
And so the example I give kids is, okay, let's say two kids, I'm a principal at a school, and two kids get in a fight in the cafeteria. The cafeteria monitor brings the kids to the office and says, hey, these two kids just got into a physical altercation in the cafeteria. Mm-hmm. I say, okay. So I bring in the first kid, talk to him. After I talk to the first kid, I bring in the second kid and the suspend. Is that fair? And the kid in the
Did
office.
You just talk to the second kid? Did you
kid goes,
story?
Yeah. And like, no, that's not fair at all. And I'm like, why? He goes, well, you didn't even hear my side of the story.
Exactly.
And I said, that's how your parents feel sometimes. They fear that you have a version of a story about them that is inaccurate, mm-hmm. and you're placing all your judgment on them based on that story. This is what alienation is, right?
Yep.
And so what parents really want their kids to do is say, hey, help me understand the experiences you had that led you to come to the conclusion you have about your relationship with me. I've had kids literally say, I had one kid tell me this, if I tell the truth, I'll hurt my mom. Mm-hmm. And if I lie, I'll hurt my dad. Mm-hmm. And I looked at that kid with almost tears in my eyes because I didn't know how to help them. It's like, how do I help? Because what they're describing to me is whatever I tell you about what's going on in my life, one of my parents gets hurt.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the truth, I'm hurting my mom. But if I lie to you, I'm going to ultimately hurt my dad. Mm-hmm. And so my only response to that was, who do you want to be? When you think of the person that you are, regardless of your parents, of what they're up to and what they're doing and all their mess, who do you want to be? And I remember she looked me dead in the eyes and she said, I want to be a person of truth. I want to be honest.
Yeah.
And I said, then my promise to you is that honesty will not be used to penalize you or them. The honesty is only because it helps me understand the world you're in. And she did. And we had a great conversation. I ended up going to court in that case.
Mm.
And rather than share everything she said, I shared that one thing. If she tells the truth, she hurts this parent. And if she lies, she hurts this parent. And I think the court heard that and knew everything they needed to know from there.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what was going on. It was so clean. And that was just out of honor and respect for that child. I mean, it's hard. And it's hard because we want the kids to feel like they can lean into us, right? But they already have the conflict of loyalty with the two people they're supposed to be able to love.
Yeah.
And they have to come in and trust us. It's crazy, isn't it? This is hard work. So I love it. So let's go to the next one. Replacing curiosity about your co-parent with curiosity about your child. What does that mean?
Yeah. I think, and I've heard parents say this quite a bit this week, actually. So this is pretty relevant. I've had parents trying to figure out how else can I support my child when they come back from the other house.
They're asking you that.
They have.
Good question.
And, I think one of the things that keeps coming up is, we talked about earlier too, is the questions. Where it almost feels like an interrogation sometimes to kiddos, especially if they are living between this loyalty test.
Yeah.
So even if you're asking, what did you do with dad? Who was there? Did you have fun? All of these things feel that because the child already has the lens of, ooh, I've got to be careful. I've got to guard mom or dad's emotions. I've got to be careful about what I say. They're running all these things through this filter before they tell you. So even though you are asking these questions, it feels almost like, oh my gosh, am I trying to get in trouble? Am I trying to get my other parent in trouble? Maybe, you know what? Maybe I can't even talk about that house. Maybe I won't, because these are the questions that I'm getting. But instead of, some of those more direct ones, did they say anything about me? Did they, who was there? What did you do? You could ask something more open, more curious. So instead of asking questions about that other parent or about the people or about that house, your question could be, what was your favorite part? Or how are you feeling? Or what made you smile when you were over there? What's something that made you laugh, right? Because you were staying curious about that child, about that world, about that experience. And you are not putting them in a position to have to filter what they say or don't say about that parent. And maybe if that child says, you're coming back from dad's, oh, dad did this silly thing and he, I don't know, was looking like a walrus with straws in his mouth, right? Whatever it was, your child will feel like they can share that with you because you asked about, what did they enjoy? And the more that you reinforce that, the more that, oh, sounds like you had such a great time. I'm so happy for you. Then they start to understand it is safe for me to talk about my other parent here. Yeah. I can love that other parent even when I'm with this parent.
Yeah, so it's what did you enjoy, not what did you do with your dad.
So we see more on your child's experiences that happened as opposed to the other factors.
Yeah, what made you laugh? Did so-and-so fart in his sleep again? Your brother fart in his sleep again or something? I'd keep it something simple and something stupid and real chill.
Yeah.
I think I wish I could help our parents understand that kids mirror us all the time, so they're looking at us. I remember sitting at the graveside with my dad when we'd go visit my mom, and she passed away when I was little. And my dad, he would always wear his sunglasses, and I knew he was crying because I could see him wiping a tear under his sunglasses. So I never really actually sat there. I don't remember being at the gravesite being truly super emotional. I just remember watching my dad the most of the time, just kind of seeing how he was.
Yeah.
And I know that was because now, as I've grown up, I realized back then as a kid, I was just wanting to make sure my dad was okay. I didn't have my mom, but I just needed my dad to be all right. And that's really what that was. So he was parentifying the crap out of me, probably not trying to. But I think I look back at that, if my dad would have been at the gravesite and not that he needed to wail or anything, but if he just let himself, like, it's okay to be sad about your wife and it's okay to be, I think for me, like, it would have given me permission to go, like, I can be sad too with my dad, And
not
so,
being more open, not feeling like you have to hide everything. Like
yeah. I mean, you don't want your kid to bear. So it's that weird balance of I don't want to put the burden on my child, but I also let my child know that it's okay. Like that. How do you do that in a way? And this is actually a conversation I have to have with each person individually. Like, I'm going to do a much better job, not on this podcast, but I would do a much better job in a therapeutic setting, having that conversation with a person about where's the balance between, am I doing too much?
Yeah.
Or am I not doing enough? And I think that's the fear that most people have when it comes to, I want to get it right with my kid. And I think that there's a sweet spot because it depends on the type of kid you have. And we have 3 types of kids in divorce, right? So the type of kid you have can be very influential on what you allow that kid to experience with you. I think the best thing I can say on this podcast, though, is just remember your kid. You are modeling for your children all your emotion, the way you handle anger, sadness, grief,
conflict resolution.
Yes. You're modeling those kinds of things for your kids, and those are becoming memories for them, and experiences for them, in which they can judge you on. Right? And the goal is that they I don't think I need a kid to come in here and go, I had perfect parents, because then I'd be like, okay, something's off.
Yeah.
But a kid to come in here and say, hey, my parents weren't great, but here's what they did great for me.
Yeah.
They didn't get it right all the time, but boy, they always try to lead with getting it right. And I could always tell they were working toward that direction. I think this is awesome. So basically, on number 3, what I'm hearing you say is be curious about your child and their experiences, but not about the co-parent. Got it. So the child hears that the questions are about them, the kid. That's really good. Man, okay. Anything else you want to share with the listeners that you thought would be helpful?
Man, I think that wraps it up. Just to run back, for these children that are feeling like they are in between parents, like they're having to choose one side, just remember that your actions and your reactions are just unspoken and allowing kids, and they're soaking it up, they're seeing. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of how you're reacting to news, conversation about parents. Allow your child to have permission to love their other parent, and just remain curious about their experiences, about how they're doing. And honestly, too, if you feel like, am I doing enough? Am I doing this right? I think it's okay to check in with your child. Ask them, Michael talked about your child is the only one who knows what it's like to be parented by you. And I think it's okay sometimes just to, hey, bud, how am I doing? Where can I help you more? Because it's that open conversation, that communication that's going to help that child feel emotionally safe and know that they can just focus on being a kid instead of having to take on all the adult things.
I agree. And I think some parents, we talked about this in a different podcast about guilty parenting, I think, with Armando. And some parents, they want to mitigate the burden that their kids hold. And so they parent through guilt. And so they let their kids do more, have more, say more. They almost give them authority that they probably shouldn't have. And then the court comes in and goes, yeah, we got to back that up. And then you're like, and how do I take away the freedoms that I've already given them? And now the kid's going to hate me, right? And so it's almost like you actually have to stand strong. There's the confidence. Like, I'll give you an example. You go through a divorce and you're in the middle of a conflict, maybe some loyalty issues. And let's say the kid says, I don't want to spend weekends with you or something. Let's pretend I'm the dad. The kid tells me I don't want to spend weekends with you. And I go, well, that really sucks. I want to change that. How do I change it? So that you actually would enjoy spending some weekends with me. And they go, I just don't want to. I'd rather just stay here. I want to see my friends and do those things. And I go, that's not uncommon for a kid to want to see their friends and hang out and be a kid. I completely understand. But here's the deal. As a parent, me being a dad and them being a mom, you deserve both of us in your life. We're both willing to be a part of your life, and that's not going to change. So rather than sitting here and you and I trying to negotiate a possibility that looks like me not in your life is not going to ever happen. And as much as you may not like that, I'm happy to talk to you about a way that we can make it work a little better for you. But the idea of me not being a part of your life, man, that's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of confidence, notice it's not a threat. It's me confidently saying, I know me. I know my boundaries. I know how far I'm going. I know what I will do, what I won't do. And I'm just being clear with the kid. What's the saying we have here? Clear as kind.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just about how it's done, right? So my hope is that kind of confidence exuding from a parent allows a kid not to feel a loyalty conflict, because they're like, I know where you stand. Does it make sense? Because they look up to you. They need you, right? So you have to have that confidence. When COVID happened, my kids didn't know what was going on. I didn't either. And I remember they were asking me, Dad, what's going to happen? And when we can't go back to school, are we going to get sick? Are we going to die? I didn't know.
Yeah.
But do you think I wanted my kids to feel like I didn't know? No, I looked at them and I said, I'll be honest with you. We're still learning a lot, but here's the deal. We're going to make it okay. We're going to find a way to make it okay. It's always going to be okay. And so we're going to start with step 1. That's prayer. Right. And anyway, that's how we do things. So I just want to give parents that same if you're going to ask me how I do it, I'm going to give it back to you. That's how I do it. So anyway, Arrianna, thank you very much.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal topic. I mean, this could go on for a long time. You better cut it. So, but thank you for that. And all you listeners, thank you so much for being a part of this. We love it. We love your feedback, and we hope to hear from you. Keep moving forward, everyone.